And a pleasant Friday, TGIF, everyone. Welcome into the First Call podcast. He's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk. We represent First Bet and Express Bet on this show. And, Jeff, we handicap 8 stakes races across the weekend. It wasn't easy just to limit to 8 this weekend. You had opening day at Del Mar coming up on Saturday, Haskell Day at Monmouth. You got the Kentucky Oaks winner running at Saratoga. This is a pretty big one, as big ones go in summertime.
Sure is. I mean, 116 or so horses entered at Del Mar. That's usually a week normally, but a great opening day at 2-day weekend, actually, at Del Mar, Saturday and Sunday. So that'll be fun. Obviously, the huge program at Monmouth Park and a critical renewal of the Haskell. Implications there for champion 3-year-old down the road. It would be a good win to add to your resume. So that's going to be fun. And then, of course, Saratoga is always good. So very challenging, very competitive, and good gambling ahead. And let's see if we can pick some winners.
And if that's not enough, north of the border, we've got the Woodbine Oaks this weekend and the plate trial getting set towards the King's Plate at Woodbine. So a lot of great action heading for you here north and south of the Canadian border. Here's our schedule of races that we'll handicap this week on the podcast. For those of you watching on YouTube or on X, be sure to like, share this out, comments, and send messages out there to get your friends to watch the podcast as well. Help us grow the audience. For the benefit of those of you on our traditional audio channels, here is the list of races Jeff and I will handicap over the next 40 minutes or so. From Monmouth Park, we're going to look at 5 stakes races: the Molly Pitcher, the Wolf Hill for the turf sprinters, the Monmouth Cup, the United Nations top turf race in New Jersey on the year, and then the Haskell Invitational. Those last 4 races are going to make up a $2 million hit and split pick 4 with first rewards points. So be sure to check that out this weekend. At Saratoga, the Coast Stakes features are the Lake George for the 3-year-old fillies on the turf, and the 3-year-old fillies on the dirt go at it in the Coaching Club American Oaks, including Torpedo Anna. She is destined for the 3-year-old filly championship. And at Del Mar, opening day feature the San Clemente. They'll also run the Oceanside because the Oceanside's always run on opening day at Del Mar, but we will handicap the San Clemente as our feature where the turf and surf meet. Again, remind you, Monmouth races 9 through 12. That pick 4 on Saturday has a $2 million first rewards hit and split when you play with First Bet and Express Bet. Of course, first rewards points can be redeemed for cash in your account, deposits into your account, wagering swag, handicapping products, all that kind of stuff that you can pick up in the pro shop with your first rewards points. And also this weekend, I want to let you know there's a $200 bet 200 get $20 promo for Saturday and Sunday at Woodbine. Saturday is Woodbine Oaks Day. If you bet 100 on the card Saturday and 100 on the card Sunday, bet at least 100 each day, you'll get $20 back. So essentially a $10 rebate back into your account if you play Woodbine this weekend. So Jeff and I will get started at Monmouth Park on Saturday. Jersey Shore, the big feature race, of course, every summer is the Haskell, and they have a big supporting undercard. My experience playing Haskell Day over the years is speed's always very good. The track is fast. They run big time. Fast horses go fast, which you would expect on a big day like that. But speed probably on the main track would be awfully tough. We're going to start things off on the main track in the Molly Pitcher. It'll go as race number 6 on the card. Grade 3, $500,000. Nice purse boost to this race. Compared to some past years. And that helped sway Idiomatic to run here, Jeff, versus the Delaware Handicap last week, where she was the defending champion of Delaware Handicap. They bypassed that race to stay to go to Monmouth to run in the Molly Pitcher. And honestly, I think they may have found an easier spot in this race. And for $500,000, this should be one that Idiomatic makes the putt.
It's not a gambling race, let's face it. But I wanted to include it on the list here because Idiomatic's the kind of race mare that if she's running, you want to watch. I mean, you want to evaluate. You want to see a champion. She's kind of slumming here for a grade 3, but there's nothing wrong with $500,000 person. It kind of ticks her over for Saratoga, and she needed a race. We had not seen her since she got beat at Saratoga back in the first week in June, but she didn't get a good trip that day, Jeremy. I mean, she was not real happy and never really clear. And that's a pretty good filly who beat her that day by a head. Right. So I didn't think she lost anything in defeat. Horses get beat, but at least her numbers are always consistently high, and I think she'll make amends here. And I want to see where she's at because it's time to go to school and try to evaluate just how good Idiomatic is this year as a 5-year-old and whether or not she can recapture her championship form from last year.
She had won 6 in a row before the Ogden Phipps, running during that Belmont Stakes Festival. She only got beat ahead by Randomized. Let's go back and take a look at it.
Mischievous is down on the inside. Raging Sea swings deepest of all. They're at the top of the stretch, and Pretty Mischievous coming after Randomized. On the outside, Idiomatic has a lot of work to do. Randomized digging in. Idiomatic all out. Soul of an Angel has come through on the inside. A 16th to go. Joel Rosario begging Randomized on the inside of Idiomatic. An absolute thriller. Here it is. Randomized and Idiomatic in a dramatic photo finish in the Ogden Phipps presented by Ford. It's a
in that race, they went slow, 48-4, 12-2. You're not going to get that at Monmouth. In this particular field, who might be the challengers in here, Jeff, or who are we looking for the exacta? Kathleen O's one who kind of got back on the beam last time. She's a deeper closer. She's not going to challenge Idiomatic in the front end, and I don't think she'll be a factor in the win. Maybe her last race, though, at Monmouth in the Serena Song kind of got her back on the beam. She at one point had hinted that she might be one of the best of her class last year as a 3-year-old filly, or I should say a couple of years ago in 2022. She's now 5 like Idiomatic. Maybe she'll start to get good for a patient trainer like Shug McGahee again. I'm going to give Kathleen O a shot, but from off the pace here, Idiomatic looks to just control this race. Miles Smiles might be, up towards the front end here, but there's not a lot of pace in this one.
Not really. This is an unusual race for you. You usually have 1 or 2 horses that you can kind of count on to go to the front.
Right.
But I don't really see anything in here that is that committed to do that. And maybe Idiomatic will just break running and make the lead.
I think she will, yeah.
Just gallop, and then it'll be a good race to see who can pick up second money, which is worth $100,000. That's nothing wrong with that, And
right.
Graded stakes placing $100,000, and I think a lot of these jocks will have that in mind and just say, don't worry about Idiomatic, but try to beat the other one. So
right.
Tough race, not a good gambling race for me, obviously, but I love to see champions in action. And that's a tough division right now that will be impacted by the 3-year-olds when they move into the older mare division and come Breeders' Cup time. But right now, Idiomatic is I don't think she lost anything in defeat. In fact, I don't think she thought she lost that race. It was strictly a head bob, and it's just got missed by a head bob. But I thought that was a good race for her, legitimate number. So she hasn't slipped, and I think she'll bounce back with a big win here.
Outstanding distaff division. Molly Pitcher, named for the legendary Revolutionary War figure. Who she is more of a question in the legend status. She fought in the Battle of Monmouth during the Revolutionary War, the nickname Molly Pitcher, but historians have tried to peg who that was exactly over the years with some difficulty. But the Molly Pitcher, not named for a famous horse, but a famous Revolutionary War figure at the Battle of Monmouth. We stay at Monmouth for race number 9 on Saturday. Haskell Day continues. Moving to the turf for our first turf stakes of the program, 5.5 furlong Wolf Hill Stakes. And I've talked about this before. I always find that the Monmouth turf sprinters underrated nationally. If you've got some local horses here who have some ability, they can punch pretty hard. Now, Arzak comes in from Fair Hill, based in Maryland, for trainer Mike Trombetta, has run all over the East Coast and the Midwest, and has taken on the top of the division. If the locals are going to hold their home turf here, they're going to have to do something to beat Arzak, because he's as good as it gets in the turf sprint division, Jeff, coming off that big one in the Jaipur last time out in the world record race that we've already seen return winners come out of.
Yeah, Star of Mystery came back to confirm that form, winning her next race. And Arzak ran really well in that race as well. To finish second in that race, that was a legitimate race, a fast figure that you'd expect to get from a race like that. He's one of these sprinters that doesn't really have any gait or tactical speed. In fact, he's better off when they take him back. If they put him on the lead, he kind of gets confused a little bit, doesn't run as well. But he'll settle early and blast home, and he's had enough time now in between that fast race to fire another good shot. Been training steadily at Fair Hill, and again, coming out of that monster grade 1 at Saratoga. And he had won the Shakerstown before that at Cleveland, so it wasn't like it came out of nowhere. I mean, he's in excellent form at age 6. Actually ran decently last year in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, only got beat 2 lengths, was right there until inside the furlong pole. So his form is consistent. It's excellent. Numbers are strong, and he just should outclass his field. Although, nothing better is no slouch. I mean, he's solid, not quite as fast on figures as as Arzak, but he's a tough horse to beat, and I think he's logically the one that Arzak will have to worry about the most.
In those Jersey turf sprints over the years, Colts Neck Stables always had good horses for those. Jorge Duarte trains. Yeah, nothing better. Going to be a tough one in there. But Arzak's last race, let's go back and take a look at it. It's where Cogburn ran 5.5 furlongs in 59.4, the fastest anybody can find recorded anywhere. This horse ran 1:02 in running second, 1:02 for 5.5. So it was a good effort by Arzak.
8 lengths to make up, rounding the far turn. In front of No Name Mets, Mischief Magic. They went 21-1 for the opening quarter, and Thin White Duke is at the back of the field. They have to catch Cogburn, who turns for home loaded with a 3-length advantage. He's running powerfully. Coppola is racing in second. A wall of horses trying to get through, including Star of Mystery. And on the outside, Arzak is finding his best stride. Center of the course, Mischief Magic. But Cogburn dominates the Jaipur. Wins by 4.5. It's a 3-way photo for second, including...
Now, horse who ran 9th in that race, Allegon, is back in here. This horse was up pressing the pace and that, just wicked splits. Look for an improvement out of Allegon in this particular spot. Well drawn for trainer Ned Allard, good regional trainer. That horse had the 10-hole in the Jaipur and was up mixing it up in that hot pace. I think Allegon bounces back and runs a good race in here, and a horse who had been very consistent up until that point. But again, when you run a race that fast, the closers can run their race and kind of pick up some pieces, but the speed horses are going to be completely compromised going as fast as they were against Cogburn. I think Allegon could be a bounce back candidate there in the Wolf Hill, and one to keep an eye on in race number 9.
Yeah, I mean, he's got form too. He's run against nothing better, been competitive there. So he's a second level horse, but just watching that race again, telling me or reminding me how good Cogburn is, man. Yeah. I mean, he's as good. I mean, now he hasn't done it his whole career, but in his present form, I'm not sure anybody's going to beat him if he shows up with the same kind of form at Del Mar that he's been putting on back east. He's a rocket ship.
Yeah, because he had the race on Derby weekend, right, in the Churchill Downs turf sprint, and then paired it up to this one in the Giant run during that Belmont Stakes Festival. So, yeah, just a one-hit wonder in Cogburn. His last 2 have been otherworldly. Let's go to the Monmouth Cup. It's race number 10 on the card on Saturday at Monmouth Park. We roll on towards the Haskell Invitational. The Monmouth Cup in the handicap division, Breeders' Cup Classic, Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile types, perhaps a 1 1/8 and intermediate distance in here. Grade 3, $400,000. Pretty much everybody in this field, Breeders' Cup eligible, and names that you've heard of. Stage Raiders in here. Highland Falls coming off a win in the Blame. Far More Power, some other horses from around the country. But the biggest name in this field is last year's Travers third-place finisher, Tappet Trice, Jeff. He's making his first start of the year. Todd Pletcher finds, I don't know, is this an easy spot for a comeback? I mean, yeah, it's a grade 3, but it's a 1 1/8. It's a trying distance for the first start off the layoff. What do you make of Tappet Trice in the return? I think in terms of the friendship that he'll make with the other horses in here, that he'll just be stronger than these, right? I mean, I think he's in with friendly company in terms of his skill set and talents to the others, but he's going to give away some fitness in here going the 9 furlongs.
Well, I just hope he makes it to the post, because he's been scratched twice now since the layoff. He was scratched out of the Alley Sheba in early May at Churchill. Yeah. Came back a month later, was scratched again at Churchill. That was the Blaine Stakes. Neither one was a vet scratch. It was a trainer scratch. Mm-hmm. But after he got scratched out of the Blame on June 1st, it didn't work for 3 weeks. So it may be a situation where I don't know what his issues are or why he hasn't run yet. You certainly had him ready to run in early May. I mean, now we're in the late July. So that's my first question mark. And whether or not he's really cranked up, or whether maybe Todd's saying, I'm going to run this horse and see if he can train on, or maybe there's something that maybe I don't like. Let's put him in this race and go to school. That's not really a recipe to be successful as a gambler when you're taking 2-1. You don't want to be asking those kinds of questions, But one thing I'll say about Tappet Trice, after he won the Tampa Bay Derby, and he did that stylishly, as you remember, we all kind of jumped on his bandwagon. He came back and ran in 5 consecutive grade 1 races. He wasn't given any breathers, and he actually did win the Bluegrass. But the Kentucky Derby was kind of his downfall. I don't think he ever really recovered from that. Finally, after Travers, he did seem to bounce back a little bit, but that's when they stopped on him. And maybe they figured, all right, we know he can run, he's back, but maybe it's better we just turn him out. Or maybe they had to about. Too many question marks for me. I wanted to pick Highland Falls because he's a genuine and consistent, but terribly one-paced. He's a grinder to the top degree. He has no move. He just kind of grinds it out. A lot of Curlins are like that, but they are top class. They seem to be able to find races they can win, even if they can't accelerate. And I know he's going to fire because he always does.
Right.
4 out of 7 with a second and a third. Not brilliant, but much more dependable, I think, than Tapit Trice. So that's the difficulty in handicapping this race. Do you go with the dependable Highland Falls, who may not be able to beat a real good horse, or do you just hope that Pletcher's got his horse ready? I don't know. I wish I did. And they can't win this race a lot easier. Maybe the total tell us a little bit about how live Tapit Trice is. I don't know.
He'll get 6 pounds from Highland Falls. Highland Falls is going to pick up a lot of weight in here, picking up 6 in his own right. Yeah, like you said, a grinder at Monmouth. I don't know. I mean, Cox, Giroux, they could have a big day with Idiomatic, with Highland Falls. If you take a stand against that one and you say you don't like Tapit Trice, again, the Haskell last year was one of the worst races of his career. So does he not like Monmouth? Was it just towards the end of the season and the the wear was coming off the tires?
Right.
I want to take a stab in here with Kozaris. I just don't know. He can get 1 mile and an 1/8. Terry Pompey, local trainer, stretched this one out, sprint the route last time and got a nice victory with really legitimate fractions, 46, 111. But the pedigree, top and bottom, Kozan out of a Wildcat Air Mare tells me 9 furlongs is really going to be asking a lot against some classy horses. But I kind of like the pattern of this horse and for a local horse over the track who can run with some fast fractions. Like you said, Tapit Trice doesn't have speed. Highland Falls is a grinder. Somebody brilliant might be able to pull this one off. Kozaris is running some really good splits in the sprint ranks, 43 and change, 44 and change. Last time, again, 46, 111 for the two-turn race. I just don't know if the horse can get the entire trip. Maybe to key this one second. Kozaris runs a big race, but finds the distance a little bit too long. Interesting betting race, a tough betting race because some of the horses that you like in here in terms of their resumes may have knocks against them at shorter prices. So shopping's not a bad idea. I just wish I had a horse more suited for the 9 furlong trip. But if this track plays the speed and it carries horses a little bit farther than you would think, being souped up, if you will, on a big race day, as it is apt to be on Haskell Day, maybe they can carry a horse like Kozaris there in the 10th Monmouth Cup.
To the it's a legitimate gamble at 15-1. I mean, why not? Right. Maybe he doesn't want to go Mount 8, but maybe if he goes 48 and 1.5, he will. You never know.
Right. Yeah, we'll take our shots. The other horses are going to be short. We know that they're going to be, both battling around 6 to 5, and everybody else is going to be let go there. So let's go to the 11th race, the United Nations Grade 2. This used to be a Grade 1, and I'm not really sure why it's been downgraded. There've been some good winners of this race over the years. Mile and 3/8 here, of course, in the Breeders' Cup Turf Division, 11 furlongs. This is a short crop turf course. They're going to start with kind of a lap plus of the turf course here at Monmouth, starting on the backstretch. So 3 turns of the turf course here at Monmouth Park. Some names you obviously know in here, some big time earners. Get Smokins made $1.6 million at Amos, a couple dollars short of being a millionaire in his own right. Good looking group in here, Jeff. You got millionaire Tawny Port for Brad Cox in here. Web Slingers made $1.3 million. So Far Bridge in here. That's 5 millionaires, I think, that we're up to in this field. Web Slinger coming off a nice win last time, and I know you've got your eye on him.
Thing about him is he's a deep closer, and a lot of times when they go 1 mile and 3/8, these marathons, the deep closers, they get victimized by a really slow pace, and you often see them make this big run and flatten out. And I thought maybe that might be an issue with Web Slinger, but his last race, I mean, it was a good race, and it was a marathon trip, and I wasn't sure whether he would kick in as well going that long against the slow splits as he had been in middle distances. I know I saw him out here in California last year. He ran in the Twilight Derby and the Hollywood Derby, and even though he didn't win, I mean, he really impressed me. He said, I always thought here's a 3-year-old who's going to be a good 4, and he is. I mean, he's developed nicely. He's consistent. Here's his numbers, Jeremy. The buyer numbers have gone from 89 to 93 to 96 to 96 to 98 to 98. Last 6 races, he's made either paired up or he's made a forward move. Every one of those races, he's starting to develop. He's starting to get good. First or second, 9 out of 17. 9 to 2 in the morning line. I know the pace could be a little bit slower than normal, but I think he might be able to handle it anyway. And maybe he's going to develop him to be a good marathoner. So I like Web Slinger at the gamble, and I think he's going to fire his best shot, maybe even improve again.
He didn't get any pace help in those 2 races at Churchill. Those were both dawdling, 14 and change. Last time won 13 and 3 to the 3/4. So he still fired at Churchill in the Turf Classic and in the Chorleywood that we're going to take a look at next without getting any pace help. And that's usually a good sign when a closer can get it done without an assist.
A quarter mile to go. Segoy coming after Stone Age now. These two head-to-head off the turn. Anglophiles cut loose. Web Slinger is 2. And Buldak is coming down the center of the course. 1 furlong to Goy. Big effort from Segoy, who's trying to hang tough, but Web Slinger continues to close. Buldak is closing 2. Here's Web Slinger up for the lead, and Web Slinger wins the Chorleywood.
We'll see if he can pair up victories and get another. Emmanuel's in this race, well drawn in the 2-hole for Todd Pletcher. He's got a little pace about him. He's been working in company with Fierceness, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But Emmanuel be Pletcher and Irad Ortiz with a good post draw in here. Get Smoking, Mark Cassie. You talk about Web Slinger, maybe if he gets a little pace help. The other Cassie in this race, Get Smoking, is pure speed. So Cassie's got 2 in here with completely diametrically opposite running styles. Get Smoking's guaranteed to go to the front. So High's going to try to go with him. Emmanuel will be fairly close. So this race could get a little, for 11 furlongs, this race could get a little bit of pace to it. And that would certainly help a horse like Web Slinger. Tawny Porton here for Christophe Clement and Flavian Pratt. Horse who's just been kind of knocking around, but can't get over the top with a victory. We'll see if this over-the-top ground at Monmouth suits him a little bit better. Remember, he was a former dirt horse who's moved to the turf, and you would think a horse like that on a really firm turf course like we're expected to see at Monmouth Park would do a little bit better. So it might be a good footing fit for Tawny Porton here. Did run 3rd at Monmouth in one previous start over the course last time out in the Monmouth Stakes, just getting beat by a neck in there. So good-looking field for the United Nations Grade 2 event for $600,000. Let's go next to the Haskell Invitational, main event of the weekend around the country, $1 million. The purse, a mile and an eighth. Potential 3-year-old championship could be in Dornock's reach here. Nobody's won 2 Grade 1s going long on the dirt amongst the 3-year-old colts so far this year. Of course, Dornock winning the Belmont Stakes. He'll look to become the first 2-time Grade 1 winner. Fierceness had a Grade 1 win in the Florida Derby. He was entered in this race, but not expected to run. He did not make the van ride. He will be an emergency entrant in the race only by last-minute arrival if Mindframe, something were to happen to him on overnight into race morning. So Mindframe expected to go for Todd Pletcher. Also for Pletcher in this race is Tuscan Sky. But Dornock, Jeff, the headliner in terms of resume, right? The winner of the Belmont Stakes, a horse who won the Fountain of Youth earlier this year, the Remsen last year. We'll see if he can back-to-back win the back-to-back big stakes races. His brother Mage ran 2nd in this race last year. Of course, Mage was the Kentucky Derby winner of 2023. He did run in the Haskell and ran a fairly good 2nd last year to go Rocket Ride. We'll see what Dornock can do in his shot in the Belmont. Do you like Dornock, or are you going somewhere else?
I'm going to go with Mindframe. I think he's going to be in a great spot. Now, last time in the Belmont, he was drawn outside, and they had to set him out of there logically to get over and get position. So they got him running right after the start, and he never really got a breather, and then he made this huge one wide, looked like he was headed for victory. The jock hit him right-handed, and that's what pissed off Mindframe. Made a left-hand turn, right-hand turn, and then all of a sudden he got Gak going again. This time, I don't think he's going to have to go that fast, especially where he's drawn. I love his post because Dornock from the rail is going to go. I would think that Tuscan Sky will be forwardly placed for sure. Timberlake doesn't wait around much, and regardless of how fast or slow they do go, Ortiz on Mindframe has the luxury of looking over and say, okay, I'm going to drop over here. You guys go ahead. And I'm going to sit like this, and I'm going to ask my horse to run from the 5/16 pull, quarter pull of the wire, as he did when he won the allowance race and when he broke his maiden. I think if Mindframe is going to win a race like this, the ideal conditions that he's going to get should give him no excuses. And I think the fact that they took out Fierceness, which was kind of figuring, and maybe they could have taken out Mindframe and let Fierceness run. But I think they think Mindframe's good right now. I mean, and I think he's ready to do his thing.
It's a 1-2 rematch from the Belmont Stakes that had drama late in the go. You thought Mindframe had the race won. He drifts and Dornoch gets the victory. Let's go back and relive it from Saratoga this year, the Belmont Stakes.
Sierra Leone launching his bid on the far outside as the field turns for home. Mindframe on the outside is coming after Dornoch, and it's Mindframe and Dornoch head in head with a furlong left to go. Sierra Leone is closing ground. It's Dornoch hugging the rail. Mindframe a little erratic, but he's still right there with Dornoch in an absolute thriller. Dornoch and Mindframe, it will be Dornoch and Luis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes.
So Belmont winner Dornoch looking for 2 in a row. Mindframe looking to get what he thought was his last time. He had it in his grasp and went meandering about. Maybe it was the left-hand stick from Irad Ortiz. Maybe he'll avoid using that with the benefit of having a little more experience. That was also, look, the horse had run the 7 furlongs at a mile and a 16th in 2 previous starts. That was his 3rd career start, a mile and a quarter. So he may not have shied from the left-hand whip. He just may have responded poorly to it being very tired, and he might be a more fit horse just going a mile and an eighth this time.
I got the impression in watching that race was he was moving well. He was getting to the leader, and then he gets pulverized. That's the only way I can describe it, with a left-handed stick. And I just had this impression of the horse going, "What the?" And he kind of lost his concentration, then picked it up again.
Right.
But give credit to Dornoch for holding on. I mean, it's a good rematch. It really is. Yeah. And if you're gambling on it, you could go either way. But Mindframe's the favorite, and this is a critical race. We'll find out how much of a legitimate contender he is for Horse of the Year, or not Horse of the Year, 3-year-old of the Year honors. But he's got to win a race like this because things are set up beautifully for him.
I was skeptical of him going into the Belmont to be able to run that well with such a light resume, and he did more than I thought he was capable of there. That, to me, turns it around this time, where I kind of have full confidence in him now. I think he's got the upside compared to the others in here. And Dornoch ran a great race on Belmont Day. It was his day, but smaller field. Everything's just going to kind of be focused, I think, between those two, unless Tuscan Sky really runs a big one in here off his win last out in the Pegasus. I just think you match those two up, and circumstances change a little bit this time. One horse is ascending. The other horse has kind of run a lot already and run probably his best race. I'm pretty bullish on Mindframe in here. I think he's going to be really, really tough to beat in the Haskell. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be 7-5. So I don't think we're going to get much in terms of the price. But I think you focus on him. We talk about that 2 million point hit and split. I think he's a single in the pick 4. I wouldn't use anybody else in.
Yeah, you got to take a stand on that. There's no point in doubling it. You just be right or lose. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Let's go to Saratoga now for Saturday's co-featured races on the program. Second week of the meet at the Spa. The Lake George is race number 10. The Coaching Club American Oaks will follow that in race number 11. So if you like to play daily doubles, this is a good opportunity. Good field size in race number 10 to a short field and a big favorite in race number 11. In fact, I'd say start out your handicapping if you like Torpedo Anna and the Coaching Club American Oaks, and probably why wouldn't you? Take advantage of the big field size in race number 10, the Lake George, and look at some daily doubles to Torpedo Anna. If you can get double your money on the win bet, that's like getting even money on Torpedo Anna in a race where she's going to be 2-5 or 3-5. So try to build out some value here. Look at your horses in the win pool. See what your win odds. If your win odds in this race are 4-1 and you're going to get $10 back, if the double's paying 20 to Torpedo Anna, you want to take that play. Take the, instead of playing a win bet here in the Lake George, I think if you like Torpedo Anna in the Coaching Club American Oaks, if you can get double your money from the win bet to a daily double, you just let it ride and you let it risk to her winning the next race on the card. So good strategy, I think, to play in situations like this when you have a heavy favorite on the card. Try to find a race around it with a big field size. Hone in on a daily double and see if you can't get double your money on the win bet play. So Lake George Stakes, grade 3. 175,000. These are the 3-year-old fillies, Jeff. Capacity field in here with several also eligible. So which way are we turning?
I ended up with oversubscribed. I'm looking at the race and hoping that there's going to be enough pace in the race. And, if I'm playing rolling exotics, I'm going to definitely throw in Manama Gold, who looks like she's controlling speed. She was undefeated coming over from Dubai, and I thought she ran reasonably well in her U.S. debut. But that was sprinting on dirt. Now she'll probably try to wire the field, and maybe she's that good. I don't know, but her time form ratings over there, the resume looks really impressive, but they were just kind of average. So I don't know how good she is. But on the other hand, Oversubscribed might be a decent sort of filly. Now, it doesn't show that she was purchased as a yearling, but she actually was overseas at Tattersall's, and she cost the equivalent of $481,000 as a yearling. So she's always been well regarded. And again, if you look at her buyer numbers, she's gone from 59 to 78, all the way up to 91. Yeah, she won the last race at the Aqueduct in a stake, and it looked like there was a pace meltdown in that race. There was, to a certain extent, but I thought Oversubscribed is developing into a really good, typical European late running type of filly, and she's building on her resume. This is just her fourth career start, and even if the pace is moderate, I have a hope that she's going to be good enough to overcome it. Loved her last race, and with Chad Brown calling the shots, she strikes me as a filly who's just going to keep get better and better and better. This is a logical up in class. I like at 5-2 if I can get it Oversubscribed to win the Lake George.
Let's take a look at her last start when she won in the Wild Applause. You're not going to find her at the beginning of the highlight, but she'll be there in the end as the leaders were far in front but came back.
Lane has put away Chantilly Road. The rest have a lot of running to do. Can Makenga keep going? Vino Rouge, Oversubscribed. They are in pursuit. Makenga's got a furlong left to go. Oversubscribed and Vino Rouge, they travel as a pair, and Makenga is now shortening strides. Oversubscribed is going to push on by. Oversubscribed is now opening up in the lane. Oversubscribed wins the Wild Applause. Oversubscribed wins it over Vino Rouge. Makenga, an awesome check in 1 minute 35.5.
You might have thought she can get there in that race. You wouldn't have thought she was going to win by 3.5 at the top of the lane. So a pretty impressive turn of foot there. Obviously, the winner Makenga was, up and down in the stretch, and she was done after the fractions. But Oversubscribed, Jeff's top pick in here. I want to give a little shout out in here to the one Gavia in here for trainer Al Stahl. Everything he's run early in the meet at Saratoga has been absolutely on point. And these Churchill horses are running exceptionally well early in the meet at Saratoga. So this third place finisher in the Regret Stakes makes the second off the layoff move, backs up to a mile after going 1.1 1/8 first start of the year. October to June layoff, that Regret at 9 furlongs was a tough trip first time back. Now shortens up to a mile, gets the rail, gets to save some ground in here. It's been Brian Hernandez's dream year. Maybe he's got a shot in here with Gavia to pull a little bit of an upset in the Lake George at Saratoga. So I'd give the one a shot in here. Oversubscribed, though, a ton of respect for the two. And again, if you're looking to play those horses, maybe you look at potential daily doubles. But again, keep an eye on the tote board and see what you're going to get in terms of the probable payoffs into the will pays into Torpedo Anna. She's the one who headlines race number 11, where we'll go next. It's the Coaching Club American Oaks, 9 furlongs on the main track for the CCA Oaks. Jeff, only a field of 5 in here, but this is a pretty good group. You've got Candy, the horse who last year was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Torpedo Anna, of course, the winner of the Kentucky Oaks and the Acorn. Leslie's Rose won the Ashland Stakes earlier this year. And the only filly ever to beat Torpedo Anna was Intricate last year when she ran by her in the Goldenrod, when she was an absolutely raging 2-year-old form. Can she get back to her top form as a 3-year-old? We'll see. Intricate in here amongst the field of 5, but all eyes are on Torpedo Anna.
Well, I'm glad that Kenny McPeak chose this race. There was some talk about tackling the boys, and I mean, it's not maybe she will down the road. There's no need for it at this stage. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's already a multiple Grade 1 winner. Beating the boys, all that will do is shorten her career at this stage. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've noticed this so many times when you see a filly tackle the boys, and it pays off if you can win a Preakness with a filly like he did, and some others. Rachel Alexander beat the boys at Saratoga, but it chips away at the longevity. It takes so much out of them to run that hard. Sometimes they never recover. And Torpedo Anna's got a chance to be one of the ones, if you know what I mean. Eventually, she'll get her chance for glory. Right now, just running these Grade 1s, pile up the resume, win the purse money. Don't have to exert yourself all that much to do it, because you're going to need to if you want to go out and win a Breeders' Cup against the older mare. So I think this is a good spot for her. She should win. But funny thing about it is her career top number, if you believe in these things, I'm just pointing this out, was a 99 buyer when she won the Acorn. And Candied earned a 99 buyer when she won the Ladies' Secret. So if you believe in the buyer boys, this might be a lot closer race than you'd think. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think Torpedo is going to win, and she continues to train well in the morning. She's got the style where she stalks, pounces, and goes. She doesn't get herself in any trouble. She gives you 2 or 3 moves in the same race if you need it. I just think she's a terrific filly, and I'd like to see her and maybe Idiomatic clash down the road. That would be kind of fun, and get a chance to see both of them on Saturday.
Yeah, and the Dara Manor. I mean, this distaff division is really good in 2024 around the country. Last time out, it was the Belmont Stakes Festival. The Acorn running 1 mile and an eighth at Saratoga. They're back at the same distance. It's Saratoga 1 mile and an eighth in the Coaching Club Oaks. Intricate was not in that race, but Leslie's Rose was the horse who was second in the Acorn. So we get a rematch of the 1-2 finishers from that race at the Belmont Stakes Festival.
A quarter of a mile to go, and Torpedo Anna is up to take the lead at the top of the stretch. Just FYI, tries to shift to the outside. In the center of the racetrack, Leslie's Rose is closing, and My Main Squeeze is widest of all. A late bid from Power Squeeze, but it's Torpedo Anna. She is simply brilliant, putting them away in the DK Horse Acorn. Another stellar performance from Torpedo Anna, who wins by 5 emphatic lengths. Leslie's Rose.
So we're back, same track, same distance, same runner-up. We'll see if Candid is the new factor in here, or Intricate can wake up back to that 2-year-old form. Those are the storylines for very interesting renewal of the Coaching Club American Oaks. Let's go to Del Mar on Saturday for opening day. Again, we expect Del Mar's opening day to be a big social event, but it's usually on a weekday. Now they're doing opening day on a Saturday this year. The traditional Oceanside Stakes, the opening day feature when it's on a weekday, is part of the undercard. But the San Clemente, the opening weekend feature each year, the Del Mar meet, keeps its spot as the anchor race number 9 on the card Saturday at Del Mar. 1 mile on the turf for 3-year-old fillies going towards the Del Mar Oaks a little bit later in the meet. Jeff, you are now the official track morning line maker at Del Mar, taking over for John White, who's retired. You'll also be doing the same duties at Santa Anita, as I understand it. So you're looking at these Del Mar races close all the time. You're looking at them from a little bit different perspective now as the morning line maker. Give us a sense of putting a morning line on the opening day card at Del Mar, and then what you think here of the San Clemente.
It's like opening up against Alabama at Tuscaloosa, because it was as tough as it could be, because there were 11 races. Every race, I think, but one had 10 or more horses, plus also eligibles. They were all very contentious. When I was a professional gambler in the 80s playing pick sixes, I didn't put in enough as much time then as I did making the line. I'm not even trying to find value. I'm just trying to figure out what the public's going to do. It's kind of a weird thing. I ended up in this race, laying Medoro at 8-5 on the morning line, even though she was 1-5 last time out, but she was life and death to win it. But after 3 months off, this was her last breeze, and she is as sharp and as happy as a filly could be. I mean, she's just pulling the jock out of the saddle. She's going in 48-3. This last week, you don't want too much to do too much and get her over the top. So I love this breeze. I think she's back to her best, even though in her last race she was 1-5 and won by a scant nose, and really had to work much harder than I thought she needed to do. Peter Urton, the trainer, gave her a little bit of time off. That race also was 1 mile and an eighth, and she was outside without cover. They were rating her. They slowed her down 3/4 and 13-2. I think she got mad. I mean, I wanted to go. She was very keen, very sharp. They didn't let her run. And finally, when they asked her to run, she probably thought to herself, "Oh, now you want me to run? Well, right. This, you know."
Yeah.
But she won. So she's an undefeated graded stakes winner. Her best win, by the way, in my opinion, was her first, when she won at Del Mar sprinting at 5/8 on the grass, when she was hopelessly beaten at the quarter pole and came out like a rocket ship in the final furlong to win. It was an impossible performance by her. I think they were just giving her a race. Nobody bet on her, but she won And since then, she's been dominant. So bullet work, that was a bullet work that we just saw on the training track. Undefeated, as I say, obviously can run well fresh. And back at a mile where she'll be able to drop over, get some cover with a normal pace, and then. So I made her 8-5. I in a big field, a full field of 12. I think probably right. She could go a little lower, but I trust her to bounce back with her best race. And her best race, in my opinion, beats these horses. There's some nice horses in here, but nobody would think as good as Medoro.
12 of them in here going a mile. 7 of them are stretching out off of sprints, and several of those 7 are horses who have only sprinted. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get in terms of two-turn ability out of some of these. The big question with I Scream, You Scream is how far can she go? She's off back-to-back wins at 6 furlongs for Phil D'Amato. She's your second choice in the morning line at 3-1. She's won with Lasix. She's won without Lasix. She won't have Lasix here in her stakes debut. But, Jeff, she's done everything right through 2 starts so far.
I really wanted to pick her because I love the filly. Both of her races were great. She doesn't look like your typical turf horse. She looks like a 6 furlong sprinter, very heavy-bodied type of filly, lots of power, much more power than finesse. But I always say if you don't want to run long, you will the first time you try it. That's the way it works. And she's trained okay since her last race. She might be better on turf. There's other speed. I just wonder whether she is going to be happy about trying to be rated. I think they'll probably try to take a hold a little bit, and I'm not sure she is going to be thrilled with that. But I think those are the two really. And if this race were like a 1-turn mile or something, I would give her a much better chance. 2 turns is a little dicey because there's usually a scramble going to that first turn. If you don't break sharply, you could get yourself into a jackpot. Whereas Medoro, I think, will drop her head and just relax and then kick on with it. So it's a good race. Both those fillies are very, very good, and they should be. This is the greatest stakes race, and you should be pretty good to win it. You have to be pretty good to win it.
Should be a wild rodeo into the first turn of the San Clemente. Yeah. Again, with 7 horses stretching out, sprint the route. When they sprint on the turf, they're used to a long run into the first turn. This mile race, it's going to come right up on top of them. Might be good to be able to get inside. If you can get in and duck in and let some of that action happen, because there could be some horses causing a little bit of chaos into the first turn. Tucking in and getting a good spot in this race will be critical in the San Clemente. So that's our wrap of 8 stakes races from around the country, from Monmouth to Saratoga to Del Mar this weekend. I want to remind you that it's Woodbine Oaks Day on Saturday. That's my Express Bet race of the week. Be sure to check out the analysis for that in the blog section at expressbet.com, or sign up for the newsletter. News.first.com also has all of our written content. Jeff is going to have analysis this weekend for both Saratoga and Del Mar in his What You Need to Know series. We've got Eddie Olczyk with a hat trick coming up for Saratoga. Extra Haskell coverage from Scott Shapiro on the websites already, so you can check out his best bets for the card on Saturday at Monmouth. Plenty of great handicapping opportunities this weekend. Be sure to check it out. And if you're playing at Woodbine, again, a reminder that bet $200, get $20 back. Bet $100 on the card at least on Saturday, $100 or more on the card on Sunday, and get $20 back into your account and wagering credit. So it's basically like a 10% rebate. That's going to wrap things up here for us this weekend. Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday. Jeff, I'll give you the final word as you get ready for Del Mar, one of the most exciting times for people in your part of the country.
I can't wait to hit the road. I mean, I'll be leaving. It's 100 miles from where I live. It's a good drive. I'll leave early. I'll enjoy the drive, and then I'll enjoy a couple of days of racing down at Del Mar. And I'll tell you, the opening day card is like a throwback. We get about 5 or 6 throwbacks a year, and this is one of them. Sunday's card, which I've already done, really competitive and challenging as well. I mean, this is just racing as it is supposed to be for the gambler, for the handicapper, and we got to enjoy it the times we can. And it figured to be good racing at Del Mar because we haven't had really top class racing since the end of Santa Anita more than a month ago. So horses are ready to go. I'm ready to go. I can tell you that. And while I'm down at Del Mar, of course, I'll have my television on watching Monmouth and Saratoga. It's the best of all worlds.
100 miles in the car sounds like a perfect time to listen to some podcasts. So our fans out there, share this with your friends. Tune in to each of our podcasts every Friday, and then on Tuesdays again with It's Official. That's when we'll see you next, Jeff. Safe travels down to Del Mar. Enjoy opening weekend there, and we'll see everybody on Tuesday.